everybody. Welcome to another edition of Big Kris Live, the live stream and the podcast available everywhere after the fact on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, DeanBlundell.com, our podcast host as a podcast network. And of course, we're streaming live today everywhere. We're on the Big Kris Radio Facebook page. Thank you for those joining us via Facebook. And we're on Twitter and YouTube, courtesy of the Dean Blundell Network. My guests, a lot of hype over this one. People pretty excited for my chat. And I wasn't sure, it was left ambiguous as to whether Craig would be joining us or not. I billed it, I'm sorry, Craig, as Rob Baker as the guest on the podcast today, but I'm certainly happy to have both of you guys. We're going to be talking Strippers Union today. Welcome.
Welcome. Thanks for having us, Kris.
For having us, Rob Baker and friend.
Nice.
Come on now.
Nice to see you, Craig. I never get to see you. You're so far away.
I know I was trying to be ambiguous and not show up, but I realized you would be here, so I decided to come.
That must be this. When have you guys actually been in person together? When was the last time?
Just before the pandemic, just right before we finished drums and bass out here in Vancouver.
Wow.
Yeah, I flew out to Vancouver in last January. I guess it's 2 Januaries ago now, with my hard drive under my arm. And we put bass and drums on over 3 days. And I think the day after I got home, the lockdown happened. So.
And that was it. And that was okay. Well, we ain't going nowhere now. Well, the record is out. We're going to talk about it and also a little history of the Strippers Union. But I have a question off the top, guys. Why is Strippers Union? Why not free market capitalist strippers? Why do they have to be unionized?
Because they're objectified and treated poorly, and necessitates a union.
Well, that's true.
So we're good union members, musicians union, because we're objectified and treated poorly.
Right.
We identify.
I understand. Okay. Well, then, so surely though it can't be that rough a ride now. But you must remember some of the early days, the days in the van and things.
Absolutely. And the union a couple times really went to bat for us when we were starting out,
right.
Young band. So, yeah, I'm a card-carrying union member.
For sure.
You're always back to the van. So you're never that far away from the van.
Yeah, well, hey, you know what? That's the attitude that keeps you hungry and keeps making great music. And like I say, there's lots to discuss in terms of the musical heritage of the band. First record, debut record, Strippers Union, Local 518. That was what, 05? And then...
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
And then The Deuce, which was 2011, if I'm not mistaken.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
And so it's been, so the billing I saw was it's been 10 years since the last record from Strippers Union. So that would make sense then, 2011 being The Deuce. Was there, so I guess, Rob, on your behalf, was there some time after the Gord thing and the dissolvement of the hip in a way, was there an unpacking period before you wanted to get going with Strippers Union? Or was things left ambiguous 10 years ago whenever the last tour, the last album cycle wrapped up?
Yeah, I think when the Gord thing happened, certainly the rug was pulled out from under me on any number of levels. And I didn't know what I was going to do. Mm-hmm. So while I was trying to figure that out, I just came down to my studio and started plugging away. It was a way of kind of calming my mind and not thinking about all those questions. And in the process of calming my mind, I came up with a lot of musical demos, which I started firing to Craig, and I was able to get Craig on his way through town, I think maybe with Stephen Page or maybe with Art of Time, but I was able to get him into my basement studio for a couple of days, and we knocked out, I think, 5 tunes in 2 days, which is pretty par for the course for us.
Yeah, that's a good rate.
And then there were maybe 2 other times where we got together like that and had good productive sessions, and then maybe 1 other time where we knocked out a tune together in an afternoon.
Nice.
But I didn't know what I was going to do, and I didn't know whether there'd be another Strippers Union album. I really didn't know. I was just fending off all those thoughts of, well, your life's over, your dream has ended, and how long do I have to sit in God's waiting room before they call my name?
Wow. Those are some heavy themes.
Yeah, well, that's you know, it was being in a band, my band, the Hip. You know, that was my dream from the time I was a little kid. Even before I knew that was the dream, that was the dream.
Yeah.
And I got to live that dream, and it came to a very nice, on some level, a very nice end. A very, like, it tied up into a proper bow.
Proper bow. Craig, what was it like when you got all of a sudden an email from Rob or a Dropbox link or whatever, however you guys transmit your music? What was it like when that came down? Were you surprised? Were you like, what was your overall feeling? Like, oh, Rob wants to work together again. Obviously, excitement.
Yeah, I'm always excited to hear what he sends me, and I was just, as Rob was saying, I was just waiting till Rob was ready. I mean, I assume we're always going to do something. I just don't know when, and I have my irons in so many fires that, and we're both family guys, that there's no lack of things to do, and I was, I was working my way through some of the existential things too on a much more microscopic level.
Yeah.
So it came at the right time, and we had time to put it together and put the thought and the detail into it. So yes, excited, happy to be working on it for some of the same reasons Rob's touched on.
Yeah. And was there a loss, or what led you to some of those themes that you identified with?
Oh, well, we share some of the experiences together,
Mm-hmm.
and also anybody's life is full of these themes. Everybody's, and especially now, we're pretty lucky to be making music in a pandemic, and Rob touches on this a lot. We're very lucky. People have been hit hard by this and lost a lot. So we tend to have, as evidenced by the music, a real sense of humor, a dark sense of humor. So it really helps us. The music is a healing component of our lives, and being together and working on it, even from afar, is really important for us.
Well, you mentioned that dark sense of humor, Craig, and I can't help but think of maybe some of the lyrics or themes from The Odds. And for those who aren't familiar, we're talking to Craig Northey along with Rob Baker from the Tragically Hip. People recognize Rob because of his goatee and his long hair, which has become iconic in Canadian music. But Craig was the vocalist and songwriter for The Odds, which is another great Canadian band of the 1990s. And do you look back? Because as soon as you said that, I identified with The Odds, saying, well, there was a bit of a sort of darkness to those lyrics, dark humor.
We're still together 32 years later and
Right.
still making records. Another one coming out. So the darkness has never ended.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I think it's just a way of looking at the world. There's a complexity to a sense of humor, and I think my own existential dread comes out in it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Now the connection, Craig, Rob, of course, we've seen each other. I was joking on the last podcast about how, I see the guys from the Hip. If you live in Kingston and you go out in Kingston, you get to meet the guys in the Hip and hey, who's that guy standing 4 people ahead of me in the lineup at Tim Hortons wearing a Civil War jacket and leopard print pants? Oh, it's Rob Baker. So, we've had plenty of,
That's about right.
yeah, plenty of chances to run into each other. But Craig, this is our first meeting, obviously through a screen, but I heard about you a long, long time ago, and I'll put a picture up here of this guy in the middle. That's myself on the left, my other friend, another broadcaster and stand-up comic named Dan Allaire, and in the middle is Graham Greer. Do you remember Graham Greer?
Of course I do. Yeah.
Barstool Prophets.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he always spoke so favorably about going out on tour with The Odds and just you in general and just the whole vibe. Do you remember any of those tours? It's so hard to remember things back before digital cameras sometimes, I find.
Yeah, you didn't have the digital camera in your mind, like the Instagram reflex that, hey, that would be good to post.
Yeah.
It just, no, that would be good. That's all. That's as far as it went.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure about specific incidents. I
Yeah.
don't ask, don't tell. And but I did enjoy being around those guys. They were really good folks.
Yeah. And you know Graham a bit too, right, Rob?
Yeah, there were Uh, I remember at least one show, I think in Regina, maybe Saskatoon with those guys, but I think there were a few shows along the way, various bills. Yeah, good band, solid guys.
Yeah.
Almost everyone we played with on the road over the years, they were just good guys doing the same thing we were doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I say, Barstow Prophets, I lived in Cornwall for a couple of years, chummed around with Graham a bit, and he had nothing but great things to say. At the time, he was sort of doing some solo stuff and maybe teaching music a little bit on the side, sitting on the back burner a bit, but always had great things to say about his time on the road with all the great Canadians. I'm sure others included, other than you guys as well.
Well, that's appreciated.
I like his solo stuff. Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, very thoughtful lyricist as well, I find. So Strippers Union, new record. Let's talk about this new one. There was something on Twitter that I clicked and I purchased. It was some special thing. You didn't even have to sell me on it. I just clicked and bought it. So I got some special edition thing coming in the mail. But tell me about the record, guys. Like, obviously you recorded a lot of it just before the pandemic. You said the drums and bass, right? How did the rest of it come
recorded together? Over the course of a bunch of years. Some of these songs, for me, music ideas date back maybe 8 years.
Wow.
I think the first session where Craig and I got together and started hammering out lyrics was maybe 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. Does that sound right, Craig?
Yeah, about 4, maybe even 5, but probably 4.
Yeah, so plugging away, taking our sweet time, not really knowing what it was going to turn into, and then there ended up being a lot of songs that I was very proud of, fond of, and in the past, I've always been a big fan of edit until it hurts, cut it until it won't bleed anymore. But in this case, it was, I decided to change tack, and it's leave them wanting less. So we included all 18 songs that we finished. And we just had our sweet time to pick away at it. And we were able to get it done with the bass and drums just under the wire of the lockdown, which left me a bunch of time to go into the studio in Bath after quarantining for 2 weeks. Went into Bath and hung out with Niles, our engineer there, and mixed the tunes. And we'd send Craig mixes, and Craig has great big ears, and he could pinpoint little frequencies, and maybe you need to pan the hi-hat 15 degrees one way to make room for the acoustic guitar, all that stuff, the love and detail that goes into it. And then I had time to sit around. What am I going to do? I've got all this time. I can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
I may as well draw a picture for every song, not knowing what that was going to be. And then it ended up being the album package.
That's probably what I
And
bought.
we thought, why would we put out CDs? You'd pretty much have to go to Walmart to get it. I'm a big fan of vinyl records. That's what I collected as a kid, all through my teen years. You moved away from it at some point, and strangely enough, I'm right back into it, vinyl. So we just thought, we'll put out 1,000 vinyl records, and then it will exist as a streaming thing beyond that. So
that's awesome. Well, obviously it'll be streaming everywhere, or it is streaming everywhere you find music. And I guess that's what I purchased the other day, was one of those vinyls. Woo!
Yep.
Got one.
They're pretty cool. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it looks good. I'm pretty proud of it.
Yeah.
Proud of the music, proud of the package.
I've been following you guys on YouTube as well, and it seems like a bit of a family affair, because you guys were jamming like remotely or something, right? Wasn't there a thing? And wasn't your son on bass, I think, Rob, and then your son was videoing it, right, Craig?
Yeah, well, he did some post-production for us, but
right.
Rob was in the room. He's in over there.
Oh, okay.
No, this way.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Rob's in over there, and I was here, and so we, there's sort of secret ways of getting that done.
Yeah. Like, how do you deal with that? The latency on that? That's a lot of gear.
Yeah, you kind of have to do it separately. In spite of all the things they've figured out, the latency is just too hard to overcome. Mm-hmm. I think they're still working on it, but it is a giant problem. So I recorded the parts with my son using the original drum loop as a guide track. So we had that in our headphones, played to the drum loop,
Okay.
and fired that off. Filmed that, fired that off to Craig. He
I
could
see.
add
Okay.
the guitar and vocals over top of what we did.
I got it. That's a lot of legwork just to do something. So I super appreciate your YouTube channel now even more. I mean,
it's not easy. It's this whole lockdown thing is forcing some ingenuity and new ways of doing things.
Tell me about it. I just played in a live streamed competitive bagpipe recital last weekend. I mean, if that doesn't tell you how you have to adapt to the modern age, I mean, I don't know what does.
You have to learn.
You're a piper, are you?
Oh yeah.
Gordy Sinclair's a piper too.
I've had chats with him. We had the same. Well, at least when I lived in Kingston, I went to the instructor who got him started, which is funny.
Yeah, that's good. He did very well. He at one point he was finished 6th in the world in Edinburgh under the age of 16.
Yes. Yeah, and that was the
pretty
word.
Damn good.
The word was he was a really good piper too. And every time I see him, I was like, "Hey man, when are you going to pick up the practice chanter again? When are you going to get going again?" I figured maybe, but he decided to put out a solo record. I mean, why would he do that? What's the point?
B flat.
What's that, Craig?
I'm so sick of B flat.
Yeah, it's only B flat. That's the only thing bagpipes can do. FYI for the musicians in the crowd.
That's only DC tune. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I was curious too because I also teach bagpipes a little bit on the side, and yeah, I lost all my students because of the pandemic, and I'm sure there's a million examples of people who've lost more than that during this pandemic. But again, like, how do you teach bagpipes over Zoom with the latency that happens in real time, right? So. Well, that's good. I'm glad you guys have got this record out. I'm super excited to have a listen to the vinyl version of it because vinyl is the new everything. Vinyl's the new stream. How about that? Has anyone coined that yet? Throw that.
New streaming. I love vinyl. I used to, you could clean your bag of weed, get the seeds out with a gatefold.
Yeah.
But you knew where the record was recorded, who wrote what their publishing companies were, who produced everything.
Yeah.
All that stuff gets lost with streaming.
No
one knows anything about the music, and it just becomes a background wallpaper.
There
are nice things about it too, but there's a lot that's lost.
That's such a stoner thing too, is using the record, using the gatefold to line up all your ganja, right? Like,
yeah.
It's also a painting, and I likened it to even CDs. It's the tangible thing that you can hand to somebody. So hey, here. We painted this, here's our painting, and you can mail it to somebody. They get a physical thing in the mail. It's kind of a completely different experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rob, you mentioned, obviously on the theme of cannabis, the Tragically Hip has their own cannabis line out there, or is that misappropriation? Because I know there's a Mill Street thing going on right now. The cannabis is yours, right?
We had a deal with a cannabis company. That company got bought out by another company who is letting or let our line run out. So we are now free agents in the world of cannabis. Anyone out there who's looking to partner.
Oh, well.
But Health Canada is very strict about what bans, celebrity endorsements.
Oh, I see.
Any of that stuff. They're all pretty strict. They've taken a very cautious approach.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the right thing to do.
Okay.
To pacify the people. There are people who want the pedal to the metal, and there are people who want to have their foot on the brake. So just steer a nice, even course down the middle of the road until everyone's comfortable, and then you put the pedal down.
Well, I was going to say, Snoop Dogg has his line, and then Seth Rogen has a line. I just think you guys, the Tragically Hip, I think, are deserved. But you're right. I'm also all for playing by the rules as long as it gets us what we want. As long as we get there, right? As long as Daddy gets his medicine, we'll just... So it's not even fired up. I'm sorry. I was just doing that for show. But yeah, as long as we get to have it in stores and yeah, it's slow, but I'm all for slow and steady along with you, Rob. But can you talk about the Mill Street thing? Are you allowed to talk about that or no? That's
not really.
Okay.
No.
Fair enough.
I will say that we made it through 30 something years as a band without having to sue anyone.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that our songs, our name, different things. Our image had been pillaged by any number of people, but we were always able to work it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what's the worst knockoff you've ever seen? Either one of you guys, Craig or Rob, the biggest knockoff, whether it's a fake concert tee or a bootleg, have there been some notable ones? Can you think of any?
Yeah, there've been classic ones through the years. Bad rip-off T-shirts, rip-off merchandise.
Yeah.
It's something the Hip deals with on a daily basis. There'll be something pops up on the internet, and it's whack-a-mole. You bop them on the head, and they change their name, and they pop up 2 days later someplace else.
Yeah.
And selling the same crap, and the web servers say, "Well, it's not our problem." So, but yeah, there was a crazy black and white T-shirt. The horse had demon eyes, glowing red eyes, and it said "Apples Road." It's like not even close, really. But
it's like even a fake concert T-shirt, but then the Wish version of that is what you're looking at.
So you go to the people and you say, "You're not allowed to do that. Give me one."
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love an Apples Road T-shirt. I'm telling you,
I got one.
Do you have one?
Oh yeah, I got one.
That's awesome. I wish I had. Oh, I meant to bring it down here. Anyways, I had a mug. Well, actually, there were rolling papers and there was a mug, but it was. I wish I had it. Anyways, I screwed up. This is part of my show prep. I screwed it up. Anyways, it was a mug, and they had a rolling paper version of it, and it had the zigzag pirate guy, but it had Justin Trudeau's face instead of the zigzag. And this was before legalization, and he was still he was running on the platform of legalizing it. And I bought
That's nice.
I bought that mug up like that. Like, oh, I was like, I'll take one. I'll take two. And there was rolling papers that were similar too. And I always thought that was one of the best knockoff products I've ever seen. And yeah. Oh, my dutiful wife heard me bellowing. And she's like 6 weeks away from giving birth, guys. She's in her third trimester. Anyways, here it is right here. Zigzag. It's pretty good, right? Like, it's pretty good.
I like it.
And I've had that before legalization for sure, like 6-7 years. And it's still, the dishwasher hasn't washed it off. It was really good quality. Anyway. Yeah, I'm having a kid, by the way.
That's awesome.
You guys obviously, did you push Boris into being a great musician, Rob, or did he find it on his own?
Not at all. It was something he came to. I was surprised. And he's a fine bass player. He has great timing, like really masterful control of, laying behind the beat or pushing the beat as required, or playing exactly on the beat, which doesn't seem like it should be that hard to do.
Oh, it is.
Greg will know. It's not. It's hard to be like a metronome.
Yeah.
If you can do that, that's an ace in the hole.
Any fatherhood advice, Craig, from you?
From me, not Boris. Boris needs no advice from me, but
no, I meant for me as a new dad.
You. Well, I think Rob sort of touched on it. Let them come to it, and just help them with whatever they seem interested in, because I think building the passion in a person is the most important thing. It doesn't really matter what it is, as long as it's not, murdering people or something like that. You just kind of help them. Mine have gone other directions, and I really have enjoyed watching them do it.
Yeah.
Seeing all those years riding a hockey bus with my son and seeing parents pushing their kids and living their dream through their kid made me so sad, so uneasy. You just let them find their thing and be supportive. And
I obviously I'm thinking in the same way, but there is a gut thing in me that really wants my daughter to play the bagpipes, like I do. But I'm trying not to be the bagpipe dad. I don't want to be the hockey dad, bagpipe dad. I don't want to do that.
You have bagpipes laying around. Make sure there's always a chanter within arm's reach.
Yeah.
And if she wants it, she'll find it.
Yeah.
And if you're super excited about it and you always exhibit joy from the bagpipes, I think that that will translate to your kids. I think mine picked up on I did do a lot of film and television work, and almost exclusively in comedy. And so my kids were around that, and all of them, two of them really picked up on that, and they made that their life, is, film and television and acting and the dramatic arts.
Right.
The other kid, I love hockey. He's a hockey player. So
there you go. Yeah.
I never pushed at all, because our rule was, if you ever complain about getting up early for practice or anything like that, we just won't go. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's on them, right? I guess, yeah, and that's the right way to do it. I guess I'll just have the instrument lying around, or I've already been playing, like, practice chant or singing bagpipe songs to her while she's in the womb, so I'm hoping she's going to take to it, but you're right, I can't push her there. Also, we had our, like, short list of names, and one of the names that we had as a short list was Piper. And I decided, and we know a Piper already, Rob. Emily Fennels has a daughter named Piper.
Absolutely.
And I was like, well, I'd be kind of ripping off Emily's daughter's name. And then secondly, I was like, I don't want her to be 16 and then hate pipes, because I tried to push her towards it. And then be like, yeah, and my dad named me after his favorite fucking hobby. I don't need an insolent 16-year-old daughter all pissed off about her name on top of everything else that 16-year-old daughters do, right? So
the cool thing about bagpipes is that they can hear that thing in the womb.
Yeah, she can. Yeah, she'll start up a kicking storm anytime I have a little practice session in the basement. All right, so before we wrap this up, guys, I really love chatting with you both. You're awesome people, and this has been determined through not just myself, but everyone else's anecdotes as well. But I want to play a clip. This is actually a video, or a live video, that I took on the day of the final HIP concert in Kingston, Ontario. And it's going to lead to a question that I had hit up Rob on Twitter years ago that he answered, but I'm hoping he can elaborate on it. Anyways, here is the video. You're going to recognize King Street.
All right, I'm live right now on King Street here in Kingston, Ontario. You can see the stage
the
where
audio's not coming through. What
CBC is going to be rebroadcast in Springer Market Square of Kingston.
Anyways, that's video outside of Bubba's restaurant on King Street. And you told me a long time ago, Rob, that the name for Live Between Us or Live Between Us, that's another question. We'll follow up with that one. But that the title of that record was Graffiti in the Alleyway Next to Bubba's.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Our original sax player, Davis Manning, going way back before the Baby Blue record, before Paul was even in the band. So
wow,
we're talking over 30 years ago, 35 years ago or something. Davis Manning and a couple other guys painted a mural, and it said, "The hip lived between us." It was a very colorful little mural, and we just thought, oh, the hip live between us.
I see. So it is it an either or? Is it a tomato live or live between us, or?
Yeah, I think it was originally created as the hip live between us, and we just thought, oh, it's spelled the same way. We'll use that for live between us.
That's so. Oh, so the album is Live Between Us. Okay, good. Well, that answers the mystery. I'd always known that little piece of Kingston trivia that was where the album title came from. Was that little tiny, and it's a dicey looking alley too. I mean,
yeah, it's been painted over. The mural's been painted over.
Yeah,
they didn't realize the importance of the history of that.
Honestly, Rob, you and
they save every last stove that Sir John A. Macdonald ever used.
Exactly. You and I know the City Council of Kingston quite well, and we know they love saving things. They love saving things. I don't know why they couldn't have saved that. It's outrageous. Damn it. I'm going to write a letter to the editor.
And inarguably, you're going to have a way better reputation in 100 years than Sir John A. has right now.
Yeah. We hope. We hope.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. Unless somehow guitar becomes incredibly unwoke in the next 100 years. But I really love chatting with you both. Rob Baker, Craig Northey, Strippers Union, and the new record is out there now. I've got my vinyl copy coming, and of course, check out their back catalog too because it's killer. Really appreciate it, guys. Thanks again for being on Big Kris Live, available everywhere. Spotify, Apple Podcasts after the fact, and audio. You can take us with you in your car that way, listen hands-free, or on YouTube, DeanTube, and Facebook Live as well. Thanks for everyone checking out the stream today. Rob Baker, Craig Northey, thanks, guys.